There it is. Hey everybody, I'm Maurice, as Gilbert so expertly introduced me. I'm an electronic media major with a minor in writing. I went on this trip. That's pretty self-explanatory. Got to know everybody. I'm trying to, fluff this up a bit so that way it's a little less awkward. So I'm sorry if I'm just rambling here, but I don't really have an order to go in. Are we going to do the video first or the articles first? Oh, I have to stand up for the video? Oh, okay, cool. Just making sure. Just making sure. For my, howdy guys, welcome in, welcome in. For my documentary, I interviewed a student from Rico University. She was very nice, very, very cool. And then I had to buy her food later as a price, which I'd say it's worth. I put a healthy chunk of effort into this one, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. Okay. What is your name, year, and major?
Year is like which grade I'm in. Okay, I'm Manaka Sato. I'm in the 4th grade, senior of this university, Rikyo, and I'm majoring sociology.
In East Asia, an educational system characterized by high-stakes entrance examinations has shaped the lives of millions. Nowhere is this more evident than in Japan. The education system in Japan revolves around these exams, determining students' future opportunities. But while these institutions yield statistically high results for students in schools, it doesn't help students in the long run. We talked with Rico University student Monica Sato and asked her how she felt about Japan's exam culture and how it affects incoming students to the university.
Having really high bar to get into the university makes us really put hard effort, for once, but it's just for the exam. It's not for like something you can use for the rest of your life. So like English is a really good example, I think, because we study for the exam, not for like the daily use. That's why we Japanese people cannot use English daily life. So like if you have any questions, they're not gonna answer it good, or like at least understandable English. And that's because they only do some readings and like they remember really hard vocabulary that you're not gonna use it for the rest of your life.
Even after they make it into the university, the effects of this practice still have ramifications in their daily lives and work ethic. Monica said she believed the biggest reason behind this attitude in new college students was the intense focus placed on the entrance examinations in their senior year.
Okay. So like we gotta study like about a year or more really hard, just focusing on like this exam. So that's like the basic Japanese students. So like senior year of high school students, like they don't belong any club activities anymore. They just gotta study for the whole year. And we take exam, and like once you pass the exam, that's like the end of the hardest part. So once you get there, it's like nothing. So I think that's the big difference, because we have really high limit for the entrance. So once we pass that limit, we don't have to do like stops anymore, school stops.
At the end of the day, the exam culture in Japan profoundly impacts incoming students before and throughout college. It subjects them to immense pressure, sacrifices, and emotional turmoil. However, it's important to recognize that success should not be solely defined by exam score. There are alternative paths and opportunities for personal growth for these graduates. And for the students that do go to university, college becomes a platform to break free from exam-centric thinking and pursue holistic education. Lastly, we asked Monica if she had any closing thoughts on the matter.
Is there anything else you want to say before I cut the camera?
Not really. I just want to say that I hate Japanese educational system.
Awesome. Man, does that feel different watching it at what time is 10 a.m. as opposed to 11 last night, scrambling to get it finished? I guess I can talk about my articles a little bit. For my Tokyo feature stories, I wrote 2 pieces, one about the immense green spaces in Tokyo, and the other about the music in the subway stations, which I don't know if you guys read these articles, but I mean, they're pretty cool. The music in the subway station is something that was a complete shock to me. I've been on a couple subways. I took one long train ride in America, but it's an entirely different experience. I don't want to just summarize everything here, but I mean, I'm going to summarize everything here anyway. The music, whenever you get on a train in Japan, it plays a little jingle. But upon further research, I found out that the jingles, if you line them up in order, create an entire song for each line. And this is something that is entirely unique to each station. It's just a little thing that makes everything way more, I guess, cool. The other thing I like flower photography, so I took a lot of pictures of flowers, and I had to figure out how to write it as an essay. So that's all that one is. For the other two, I wrote about the historic Kamo River and the differences between temples and shrines. Temples are Buddhist exclusively. You'll never find a Shinto temple. That's just not really a thing, and a shrine is Shinto exclusively. You'll never find a Buddhist shrine. However, it's something that confused me for a good 45 minutes while we were over there. Some shrines and temples on the same land, so they're sort of mixed, but they're also completely separate. It's just a great thing you kind of got to be there to experience, and I hope I capture that in my writing. As far as daily posts go, I have the first one, so I just kind of reached out to all of your brothers or friends and was like, "Hey, have you packed yet?" And everyone said no. so yeah, I wish I could make the speech longer so that way I could give everyone more time to think about what they're gonna say, but I'm kind of running out of gas here, so I'm going to responsibly hand the mic off to my teacher. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Allison, you're next. You don't have a mouthful of donuts, right? Here you go. Say a few things, introduce yourself, and then we'll get to your documentary.
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison, but I go by Allie. I'm a public relations major. I'm a senior. And I also did my mini documentary with Monica because she was a sweetie. And I kind of realized last night that our interview was way too vague. So I kind of narrowed it down with the footage I had. But this is about. I forgot what it's about. I stayed all night, okay? I'm so sorry. I'm on copious amounts of caffeine right now. Something about
This is
her in
Monica.
Japan. So
She's 21 years old and is studying society at Rikyo University in Tokyo. A few of us were fortunate enough to hang out with her, and it was a lot of fun getting to know her.
I've visited the United States, so I went to Arizona for about 10 months, and I went to public school there. And I went to Belgium last semester as an exchange again.
Since she'd spent a lot of time in other countries, I was really interested in hearing her perspective on the cultural differences.
I love my country besides political and educational system. It's really comfortable for me. I love how polite people are. I think that's one of the good things about Japan, and also cleanness. I love Japanese food, and I'm really proud of it. Well, I would say that I hate Japanese political system as well. One of the reasons why is because like they don't vote, but they just criticize. They know this political system is bullshit, but like they don't vote.
Voter turnout among young people hovers around 40%, but turnout for people aged 60 to 69 is around 72%. There's a general political apathy that exists within a lot of young people in Japan, probably due to the fact that many of them aren't very educated about politics.
Maybe like they're shy in both good and bad ways. I mean, being shy is kind of similar to polite, so that they don't show off what they have, but it also means like, they don't speak up for their rights or like what they think.
Japanese protesters are familiar with the risks of getting fired from their jobs or even facing violence and harassment, which discourages a lot of other people from speaking up.
Because, I was raised and grown in Japan. I feel like, not having my opinion was not a problem. I just followed my family, my friends, my teacher, and like that was okay. But like once I went there, like everyone asked my opinion, and that was really confusing for the first time.
Okay, now I remember what that was about. So for my Tokyo stories, I wrote about Muji because that was one of the main things that I wanted to see whenever I went to Japan. It's known for like stationery, mostly in the US, but they had 6 floors that were just stocked full of everything. It was basically like a department store. It was really cool. Highly recommend. And I also wrote about Hasedera Temple, which I adored. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but seeing all of the hydrangeas in the rainy season was just stunning. And whenever we went to Kanando Hall, Rhea and I cried. because it's this 30-foot tall statue of Canon, and she's just so pretty. And thinking about how many people loved her enough to devote all that time to making that, which is really, really touched my heart. But for my Kyoto feature stories, I wrote about finding shops because, I mean, that's pretty much what we did in our free time. And I had a lot of souvenirs to buy people. So, and other feature story. Oh yes, I wrote about a Starbucks in, I guess, downtown Kyoto. It was kind of in a more historical district, and it kind of played on the traditional Japanese interior design themes. And it was really, really cool. And for my personal essay, which obviously isn't published yet, I wrote a little bit more about all of those things that I just talked about because I didn't feel like I got enough time to personalize the feature stories. And I talked about a lot of the hardships that I faced because this was my first flight out of the country. I barely knew anybody before we left, and I cried in front of the professors during breakfast, which was fun. But everything was fine. I was just homesick and stressed. But I feel like I persevered pretty well, and everybody here helped so much. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Maya. Come on up, Maya. Introduce yourself, and then we'll get to your documentary.
Damn, Aspen. Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Maya. I'm I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating this December. I am majoring in journalism with a minor in political science. I did my documentary on the Kyoto Imperial Palace. Sorry, the audio is really bad in some places. You can like hear people walking around on the gravel in the background, so I apologize in advance. I don't know why, but the music makes me laugh.
We're at the Kyoto Imperial Palace, which was the palace of the emperor from 794 until around 1867, when the emperor and the imperial family moved to Tokyo. Tokyo became the capital of Japan. One thing I love about the Kyoto Imperial Palace is that it's so wide and it has so many beautiful trees and so many beautiful buildings. And it's kind of like the central part of Kyoto. From the 20th century, that's the outer area of the Kyoto Imperial Palace, which used to be residential area for social elites, became a kind of public park. And people who live in Kyoto, especially in the center of Kyoto, love spending time here. There's a lot of things to do here. There's a bird watching area. There's there's different botanical garden areas within the complex. We walked through a garden which used to be the emperor's private garden near the living quarters of the emperor, which was that version of the living quarters was built in 1590, I think. And so the emperor would use that garden for his own purposes.
Overall, the Kyoto Imperial Palace is a beautiful testament to Japanese architecture
and the Japanese people's ability to preserve their cultural heritage. Yay, thank you. Thanks for the encouragement, Mom. Yeah, so that was John. He was our tour guide while we were in Kyoto, and he flew best. I think he cried a little bit actually when he dropped us off at the train station, which was really cute. So for my feature stories, so my Tokyo feature stories, I did one of them on Goshunsho, which are stamp books. So anytime you go to a temple or a shrine anywhere in Japan, you can get a personalized stamp. They write it for you with the name of the temple and the date on it, and they give it to you. So it's a fun little like map of where you've gone and like your spiritual journey within Japan. And that was something that Alayla and I actually discovered together. And we had fun running around at all the temples and getting all our stamps. I did my other feature story in Tokyo on the subway system, because at first it's really confusing. A couple of us got lost. Ollie, Alayla, and I almost got lost. We were able to figure it out, and Brianna, Gabby, and Zoe just got lost and had to Uber back. But once we were able to figure out the subway system, it's actually really efficient. And it's a really big testament to how much they pay attention to the little things, honestly, in Japan. I did my 2 Kyoto stories. Well, I did the daily blog post of the day we were leaving Kyoto, which was really sad because we all had a really good time in Kyoto. I did my other 2. One of them was on the foxes at the Fushimi Inari Shrine, which are really beautiful, and have a really fun meaning behind them. They're always pictured with keys because visitors go and they make their wish, and then the foxes carry the visitor's wish from the temple to the goddess Inari, which I thought was really cool. And then I did my last one on the torii gates, because any shrine that you go to in Japan, they have the beautiful torii gates. They're super iconic. I feel like everyone has seen pictures of them, but getting to experience them in real life was obviously nothing like it. Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks so much, everybody. I want to thank my classmates. I love you guys. I'm excited to go to dinner tonight. I want to thank Jamie because she was so instrumental to us not losing our minds trying to do our writing and stuff. So love you, Jamie. And I want to thank the professors because this is truly something I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. So thank you guys so much for giving me that.
Thank you, Maya. Aspen's next up. Aspen Plummer.
Hey guys, my name is Aspen Plummer. Thank you, thank you. I'm a digital media innovation major. Maybe for today. And my mini documentary is about just Japanese traditions in general.
I interviewed Jen Norris of the Texas State Asia Institute about certain traditions. Firstly, what significance do Japanese temples and shrines play in the community?
I was just having a conversation with John, our guide in Kyoto, about how in the countryside, like a lot of foreigners now, they're moving out into the Japanese countryside because they have all these like abandoned houses out there and they're trying to renovate them. When you go out there, you see the rural life is still very much entwined. Like they want you to be like working together. They want you certain days in a month, you need to help them clean up the local temples, the local cemeteries. Like everybody has to like do these tasks together. So in those areas, it's still like the temple, it's still a meeting place. It's still something that is like maintained communally, and it's your responsibility. And if you don't do it, you're going to be looked down on, kind of outcast.
So to sum it up, temples are used as staying connected in the community and to show work ethic, which is just a highlight of a main focal point in Japanese culture in general. And I couldn't agree more from what I saw. It seems that everyone is truly treated equal in respect, and that brings a sense of collectiveness. I then asked, what is the tradition and or trend that started in Japan that the rest of the world got a hold of?
I'd say the art through anime and things like that, like the cool Japan pop cultural like explosion. Like a lot of the like cultural trends, a lot of the even historic artistic trends, you can trace a lot of the influence of China, and you can see some of it in Korea and different places. The ancient art too. But the modern kind of pop culture, I think, is so unique, and the way it took on, like, was taken in by other countries, like that's not replicated by Chinese art at all. I guess a little bit now people look at like Korean pop music, but I don't think it's going to catch on anywhere near like where anime did, because it's not as deep, really.
That's exactly right. Anime is extremely popular in the US right now. And it's because it has a distinct look and feel that really sets it apart from traditional Western animation. It tackles mature themes and complex storylines that appeal to a wide range of audiences. Japan gives a sense of community and collectiveness, whether it's through temples or anime. The tradition of community will live on for all of Japan's foreseeable future, it seems.
Thank y'all very much. So one of my feature stories in Tokyo was the the Shibuya crossing and the Harajuku Takashita Street, and it's basically just a bustling street that goes straight down with many anime stores, restaurants. They have like otter cafes, dog cafes. It's pretty cool. And then in Shibuya, it's the highlight of tradition and innovation like mixed together. There's a crazy amount of shopping centers that we went to with Monica, a Rikyo University student, and she helped us guide us around, and it was a lot of fun. And in Kyoto, we saw the death of Buddha, which surrounded is just every single wall is surrounded by his peers that are mourning his death, but it's beautiful in that way because it shows enlightenment. Thank you.
Okay, next up, I think it's Gabby. Come on up, Gabby. Tell us a little about your, and we'll get you your documentary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Fiorenza. I am a third-year student here at Texas State University. My major is in mass communications and minor in media studies. And my documentary is about, so it's interesting, I was able to interview Emily Power, and it was her first day in Japan. So I was able to see like what her plans were, what her perspective was about like coming to Japan. And then I was able to interview Brianna at our layover in LAX about kind of the similarities, but also the differences in how both of their trips went.
My name is Emily Boyer, and I am here in Japan just on tourism, just seeing the sights and visiting all these places.
Hi, my name is Brianna Archer. I'm a student at Texas State, and I just got back from studying abroad in Japan.
I feel really great. It's my first day here. The airport was fine. It was really smooth travels. All my flights were on time, and Japanese customs was the easiest thing I've been through.
It was really, I did not like customs here in the United States. It was a lot better in Japan. Here, we waited in like a really, really long line. And it's just like, there was like only 2 employees working there. And so there was like a lot of people, and it just like took a lot of time, when it didn't in Japan at all. Like it took no time there.
I've been pleasantly surprised with the amount of English. I was expecting for there to be very minimal English on anything. And one thing that's been awesome is all of the locals are really helpful. Even if there's a language barrier, just being able to show my phone, and they've helped get around. So I've been able to navigate the transit systems and everything like that with the help of locals. So it's been great.
As Americans, we stuck out like sore thumbs. Like it was very clear that we were all tourists, especially like traveling in like flocks. Like it was literally like a one big pack of us. But everyone was super kind and helpful. So like if you needed help, like people would always like help you. Like they were very eager to like try to understand what you're saying and stuff like that.
Yeah, so gonna go to Tokyo and spend most of my time there tomorrow. We might go up into Tokyo Tower. Probably gonna go to Shibuya Crossing. There's supposed to be a pretty good coffee shop that's right there that I want to try. Honestly, people watch. It's one of the busiest intersections in the world, so I feel like just watching how everything happens is gonna be fun.
Probably one of my favorite things to see was either I really like Harajuku just because like I've always been really like interested in seeing it. So seeing like that street and just like what shopping is like in a different country, and seeing the Great Buddha was like really, really like really cool. I didn't realize how big it would be, and like going inside it was really cool. I don't think I could have ever made it an itinerary on my own that hit all of the things we hit. Like we were walking, like I think I checked and it said like at least 8 miles each day. It was a lot, but we got to see things that like I would never get to see on my own if I hadn't done that.
Thank you. Okay, so I had to write down like what I wrote about because I honestly kind of forgot. But in Tokyo, I wrote about the wonders of Don Quixote. We were able to stop in the mega Don Quixote in Shibuya, and let me just say it was life-changing. I loved it so much. There's like hundreds of stores just across like just Japan, so very exciting. And then I also did a not feature story. Yeah, a feature story about Saitan, also Birth Coffee. The first day in Japan, I woke up bright and early, and so did Sophia and Ali. So we took this as an opportunity to walk around the block and explore. And we ended up getting coffee at Birth Coffee. And it come to find out it's actually a hostel and like a nighttime like dinner bar downstairs. And it's like, wow. It was really cool. It was really cool. And in Kyoto, I wrote about a tourist guide for souvenir shopping, specifically in Kiyomizu-dera. It was just amazing. You just go down like the street leading up to the shrine, and there's just all these little gift shops and little food places to get food, and that's kind of how it was at a lot of the other like places that we went to. So I felt like it was a perfect time to write about it. And then I also wrote about the significance of Japanese cranes. Honestly, I just took this really cool picture of this crane on the roof in Kyoto, and I was like, I need to write about cranes. And then when we walked into our hotel, there was also like little like origami, and there was like an origami like crane as well there. So I was like, I looked up all of that and the lore behind it, which is cranes are supposedly supposed to live for 1,000 years. They mate for life. Just a giant symbol of like good luck and fortune. So basically the lore is that if you like fold 1,000 origami cranes, your wish will come true. And because he had like the patience and the diligence to do the 1,000 cranes. So yeah. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
All right, Felicity, you're next. You're up. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get to your documentary.
Hi, I'm nervous. It's really good to see you guys. Sorry I was late. So basically, my documentary is about nature in Japan. I kind of chose Arashiyama Monkey Park to do that. Sorry. It was probably my favorite thing that I did in Japan, and I don't think I'll ever shut up about it, but I will now so you can watch it.
Welcome to Japan. The country is full of beautiful, nurtured land and has immense amounts of landmarks in many of its cities, including Arashiyama, where the Oi River runs and bamboo trees stand tall. Arashiyama is home to a mock monkey park. Mocks are native to Japan, and they engage with tourists as they come and go, looking for a perfect view of Kyoto. Many visitors create personal connections to the land that last a lifetime.
This experience of seeing monkeys in combination with the vast expanse of Kyoto and Japan makes me feel very happy at the fact that there can be expanses of nature within large cities. It just makes me feel joy seeing animals and nature coexist together.
I concur, as well as seeing the animals in their natural environment is very beautiful. With no gates, no fences, they can literally go wherever, do whatever. It's really beautiful because it's hard to find other places.
Observing the monkeys is something that feels unnatural at first, as they are not common to the average human eye. Standing on top of the mountain reveals a feeling of awe that visitors often miss when they return home.
It makes me feel both sad and happy because I get to live in the moment and appreciate every second of life that I get to have. I'm very lucky to be here, but it also makes me happy that I have my home too, because if I lived here, I probably wouldn't be going here every day, but being a tourist and visiting it, it's a very special experience.
Living on the island of Oahu, a lot of the Japanese culture is there. So a lot of people are in tune with nature, just like here. So it's very beautiful to see it more expansive here. And I get to go home to part of the culture, so that's really nice. But to see everything like this is just really amazing, because to be one with nature is just very beautiful.
Arashiyama Monkey Park, Iwatayama, is a magical place. Mock monkeys are special to Japan, being nicknamed the snow monkey. Just remember not to stare at the monkeys directly, as the sealids act as a threat. They do enjoy the company of humans, but they are wild monkeys by nature. The park is eye-opening to many of its tourists and is kept close in their hearts long after their visit. If you ever find yourself in Kyoto, make sure to schedule a trip to Arashiyama.
I forgot to introduce myself. Sorry. I'm Felicity. I'm a junior majoring in journalism, minoring comm studies. So my feature stories in Tokyo. My first one was about Kamakura and basically 3 places that you need to hit while you're there. It was helpful because I had the blog that day, so I kind of just took what I had, to be honest. So I talk about Daibutsu and these giant like weave sandals. Basically, children every 3 years weave a pair for Daibutsu, hoping for his return. And then I talk about Hasadera Temple, and can't remember, but I'll move on. My second one was about navigation in Tokyo. I think being a foreigner there and how that kind of looks like. And then in Kyoto, Arashiyama Monkey Park, favorite place. So I wrote about that. I go in a little more depth about that and the 3 rules that you have to abide by, which is don't stare at them, feed them, and don't touch them.
And I was really scared about it because John told us that he was chased one year. So that really put me off. But it was really fun. I really loved it. It was beautiful. And my last one was about the kimono and the yukata, which is basically a different version of kimono. It was basically started as a bathrobe to use in onsen. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think that's it.
Felicity. All right, Ollie, you're next.
Hey everybody, I'm Ollie. I was going to be a senior. I'm majoring in journalism with a minor in pop culture studies. So for my mini doc, I was a little unprepared. So it's kind of about just seeing nature and technology blended in Japan. And I hope you like hearing the sound of my voice, because I know I don't. Welcome to Japan, a land where tradition meets innovation and nature coexists with technology.
My name is Lauren. I'm from Texas, Houston, Texas. My favorite thing has definitely been shopping in Shibuya. It was just such a cultural, like, I don't know, difference from just like normal Houston.
From transportation systems that whisk passengers across cities at astonishing speeds to incredible architecture, Japan is a leader of progress and innovation. Yet, amidst the technological marvels, Japan maintains a profound reverence for nature. Modern buildings seamlessly blend with natural landscapes, symbolizing the harmonious coexistence of technology and nature. From the majestic mountains to serene gardens, Japan offers abundant opportunities to connect with nature.
This is Little Monkey Park, and it's so cute. Love seeing all the monkeys.
It's a country where outdoor activities and appreciation for the seasons are cherished traditions.
My name is Philip, and I'm from Cypress, Texas. I've been to Tokyo, I've been to the Imperial Palace. I've also been to Mount Fuji and Kyoto. What brings me to Japan is like the cultural difference from what it is in the US and just like how lively it is.
Japan's unique blend of technological advancements and reverence for nature creates captivating harmony. It's a testament to the nation's ability to embrace progress while preserving the beauty of its natural surroundings. Right. So, feature stories. So in Tokyo, I wrote about the Meiji Shrine, which is kind of right in Harajuku, like in the middle of this bustling city. You have like this quiet temple right here, and it is just gorgeous. Yeah. So that was Tokyo, and then in Kyoto, I wrote about first about navigating Kyoto. So that was inspired by just arriving in Kyoto and realizing that the subway stations don't really have escalators and elevators. They mostly just have stairs. And getting lost a few times in Kyoto, taking a bus and a trolley and a train to get to Arashiyama. That was fun. So that was that one. And then my other feature story, I wrote about Tanaimaguri at Kimizudera Temple. And that is actually a really interesting experience where you basically get to pay 100 yen and walk in a pitch dark tunnel. And it's symbolizing rebirth. Very trippy, interesting experience. It was a lot of fun. And then for my blog post, I got to write about the day that we visited the Kyoto Shimbun, which is a newspaper in Kyoto, actually the largest newspaper in the area. So that was very interesting. And they were nice enough to create a mock newspaper with our picture on it,
which I will keep forever. And then we all kind of split off for the day and had various little side adventures. That was the day that me, Ollie, and Jamie went to the monkey park. And I know that Allie and Zoe went to go do laundry. It's just a interesting day. And everybody got to explore Guyane while I wrote the blog post, which was also fun. But yeah, so there we go.
Thank you, Ollie. We got Felicity or Alayla next as I'm looking. Alayla, sorry.
Thank you for the amazing introduction, John. Hi, my name is Alayla. I am a senior here at Texas State University. I am a mass comm major in public relations and I minor in media studies. My documentary is about the Fushimi Inari Shrine and just how beautiful and long the torii gates span. So I'm gonna stop talking and y'all enjoy. Fushimi Inari Shrine is a renowned Shinto shrine located in Kyoto, Japan. As you approach the shrine's entrance, you will likely encounter a row of food vendors and souvenir shops lining the pathways. Tanuki is a symbol of good luck and prosperity in the Japanese culture. Fushimi Inari Shrine is one of the most important and iconic Shinto shrines. It is dedicated to Inari, the Shinto deity associated with rice, agriculture, industry, and business prosperity. Entering the shrine's grounds, visitors notice the presence of monks and devotees engaged in prayers and rituals. The monks play a crucial role in maintaining the spiritual atmosphere and conducting ceremonies within the shrine. The most distinctive feature of the Fushimi Inari Shrine is its countless torii gates, which are traditional Japanese gateways that mark the transition from the secular world to the sacred space. Torii gates have a symbolic significance within Shintoism. They represent the transition between the profane and sacred spaces, acting as a boundary between the physical and spiritual realm. Passing through these gates is believed to cleanse and purify one's spirit, fostering a connection with the divine. Each gate is donated by individuals, families, or businesses as an offering to the shrine and a symbol of good business and good luck. The pathway formed by the torii gates extend throughout the shrine's grounds and stretch up to the summit of Mount Inari. Visitors will encounter numerous representations of foxes, known as kitsune in Japanese. Foxes hold great significance in Japanese culture and are believed to be Inari's messengers. Visitors are encouraged to hang imas and write their prayers and wishes on them as offerings to the deity.
My name is John Wells. I'm a filmmaker and artist, and I'm from from America, the United States of America, but I've been living in Japan for 30 years. But Fushimi Inari was a shrine that was, the very beginnings of it are quite old, maybe around the 700s or so, before Kyoto was founded as a city and as a capital city. And then the current location and the current configuration of the buildings was dates back to about the end of the 15th century. So like 1490 something, 99, I think was the founding year of the main building there. But Fushimi Inari, what it's known for is not so much the buildings, but the torii gates. There are many torii gates along paths on the mountains, and people will walk between them and they're stacked one after another so that they line up and create sort of these hallways of red and very mystical experience.
Okay, so the gentleman that you just saw in the documentary was our Kyoto tour guide. His name was John Wells. And interesting fact that I wasn't able to fit into the documentary, he moved to Japan off of a study abroad trip and he never left after that. And he has been there for 30 years. So he
one of the questions I asked in the documentary or in the video was, do you believe that the study abroad program had or not detrimental, but had a great impact on your life? And he said yes, because he fell in love with Japan and never left after that, and got married there and plans to spend his days there as well. So for my future stories, I wrote about the pop culture in Japan and how it made its way to America in certain aspects of life that we love about Japanese culture, such as manga. Okay. Anime, of course, as well as K-pop and J-pop and J-rock as well. I just found that really interesting because America is kind of a mixing pot of cultures, and Japan has a really good fingerprint on America. Moving on. Another topic that I wrote for Tokyo was the Shibuya crossing. Y'all, it was nothing that I've ever experienced in my life. It was so many people, and all 12 of us are so scatterbrained. So we literally have to nominate somebody as the literal guide, and we gave Gabby a fan, and she just walked around, and we followed her like little ducks. So shout out to Gabby for keeping us all together. For my Kyoto feature story, I wrote about the traditional tea ceremony. That was just one experience that really stood out to me, and I feel like it kind of stood out to the rest of us, just because it was such a culture shock, and we had to, well, not had to, but we were able to experience the traditions of Japan and their culture, and we were able to learn that it is a 10-year hobby that you have to work yourself up to become master green tea ceremony. As well as the Raizen Canon statue. She is essentially Buddha reincarnated, and she is the deity for all little babies. And I just felt that that was such a beautiful experience with the greenery in the background, just her essence in general. Thank you again for watching.
Okay, Sophia, you're up next. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll get to your documentary.
Hello, everyone. My name is Solka, and first, what I'm going to do is talk about my stories. For my daily blog posts, I wrote. Well, I'll wait for you to get there. For the first daily blog post, I had the first full day we were in Tokyo, and it was basically just an overview of the day. We went to Shinjuku Gyoen National Garden, and I specifically enjoyed the formal floral garden. And after that, we went to a shrine where we saw these sake barrels across a path from French wine barrels, and that was to represent the appreciation of Western culture during the Meiji era in Japan. And then to end the day, we had a 7-course welcome dinner, and hence why the title is Day 1 in Tokyo leaves us full and satisfied. For my feature stories in Tokyo, I wrote Covering Sewage with Style. As we were walking around the city, I started noticing that, well, because I like to look at my trip, I noticed that a lot of the manholes had sakuras on them, and I thought that was beautiful and also strange because we don't really decorate our manholes here. So I looked into it, and apparently that's Japan's version of street art. It was a project put together by, I can't remember his name now, but Japan post World War II was experiencing a lot of pollution because they went through a mass consumer phase, and they kind of neglected their environment. So as a way to get people to care about it again, one man proposed that citizens submit designs for manholes, and they just place that around the street. So was an interesting idea and it worked. And whenever we were in Kyoto, we came across this poke hole, is what they're called. And they're placed across Japan in different regions. There's a whole website for it that tells you where you can find all of them. And I wasn't expecting to find one during our time there. So everyone here probably knows, like, I had a massive reaction to that. So yeah, that was the first one. And then my second Tokyo feature story is called Master of Japanese Mystery Novels, Edogawa Rampo. So whenever we were visiting Rikyo University, we walked around with some of the students, and as we were walking around, we crossed this author's house. And I knew him because I watched this anime called Bungo Stray Dogs. I don't know if anyone else knows that. Okay, you know what that is. It's basically where all of these famous Japanese authors have like a special ability, and they just like fight crime. They're like detectives. So that's where I knew him from. And whenever we crossed his house, I was like, oh my God, no way. Like, it's right there. So that inspired me to write a feature story about it. And I just go into a little bit of his history, where he came up with his pen name, inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. So Edogawa Rampo, it's their version. He was a mystery crime novelist. And for my feature stories in Kyoto, I wrote a bountiful lesson in Japanese bookbinding. John Zmikly proposed that we do a bookbinding course while we were in Kyoto. We never got around to it, but I was so fascinated by the idea. So I dove into the history of bookbinding and looked into the steps of traditional bookbinding in Japan. It's very interesting, and one day I will have to go back and try that for myself. And lastly, I also wrote about the tea ceremony, a wistful experience in Kyoto. I wrote about the history of the ceremony, which it's actually known as Chinoyu, and tea ceremony is kind of the English translation of it, but they made it more dramatic than it actually is. Like, it's, as you'll find out, because I did my mini documentary tea ceremony, it's more of a hobby and something people do just to enjoy. And now we can go into my mini documentary.
Keep in touch on when our stop's going to be. It's going to be longer bus rides, and we're going all the way back.
Today, Texas State University's SJMC Japan team is attending a traditional tea ceremony in Kyoto.
Make sure you keep in touch on when our stop's going to be. It's going to be longer bus rides, and we're going all the way back.
Today, Texas State University's SJMC Japan team is attending a traditional tea ceremony in Kyoto. Before entering the tatami room, our shoes were asked to be removed as they damaged the special floors.
On when our stop's going to be. It's going to be longer bus rides, and we're going all the way back.
Compared to the two larger,
Make sure you keep in touch on when our stop's going to be. It's going to be longer bus rides, and we're going all the way back.
Today, Texas State University's SJMC Japan team is attending a traditional tea ceremony in Kyoto. Before entering the tatami room, our shoes were asked to be removed as they damaged the special floors. Rie Tsuranaka is a Kyoto tea master and has studied the art of tea for nearly 8 years. Kuranaka is our host. After climbing a steep flight of stairs, we discovered a set of bowls laid out with pre-measured matcha in each. Kuranaka later told us that each bowl is designed for the current season. Compared to the two larger bowls are mochi triangles topped with sweet red beans and fruit. It is tradition to enjoy sweets before consuming matcha. Renaka says that being a tea hostess is somewhat of a hobby for her.
I started learning tea ceremony as my hobby, and I felt really peaceful, relaxing, achieving. You forget about the day.
Before the ceremony begins, we were asked to turn off our cell phones as recording is not permitted. In the ceremony, Kuranaka gives an overview of tea's ancient history in Japan.
My country is history, and tea ceremony includes many Japanese traditional culture.
Here, Kuranaka is instructing us on the proper way to sit on the mat during the tea
The tea ceremony was a really fun experience. It was really cool to see the ceremony of it all and how every step has to be done just so. It was kind of exactly what I expected, but on the other hand, there are so many more exact, precise steps that you have to take that I wasn't expecting. The step of having to tell each person in like the circle, I'm going to join you in drinking the tea, and then excuse me for going before you. The fact that we each had to go down the line and say that to each other was unexpected, and it just speaks to like the formality that you find in so many Japanese traditions. Every Christmas, my family makes tamales, and it's kind of assembly line, and it kind of reminded me of that same thing where every step has to be done just so you have to, you can't really get ahead on steps, and kind of the similar thing with the tea ceremony. And so I think it's great for there to be like culture specific hobbies like that.
Well, it sounded louder whenever I was editing it. Um, okay, so moving on from that. In my personal essay, I talked about how much this trip meant to me. Ever since I was a kid, I read about it. I had this like distinct memory of a rodeo shop whenever I was like 6 or 7, and behind my mom's head or something, I could see Housemoving Castle playing in the background, and I thought it was one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And ever since then, I'd been fascinated by Japanese animation. And then from there, I was drawn towards manga, and one in particular, or two in particular, were Your Lie in April and Origami. And Your Lie in April follows a pianist and a violinist. And during the time that I wrote that series, I was kind of giving up on piano, but then that series changed my perspective on it, and I got back into it. And then Origami follows a stray god, a high school girl, and a spirit, and it explores different cultural elements of Japan, such as Shintoism, the school system, as well as socioeconomic issues in Japan. And that series is still ongoing, so I'm still reading it today. It's very good. I remember when we came across an Ibisu statue in Kyoto, I'm pretty sure, whichever. And inside, I was like, oh my gosh, there's like an actual statue of the god that appears in this series. Yeah, so I kind of reflected on like how long I've been not studying, but like just appreciating Japanese culture. So to actually go on this trip really meant a lot. And some lessons I learned about the professional world are that you need to be good with time management. I stayed up until midnight finishing the first blog post because we had done so much in the day. I had been taking notes throughout the day, but I didn't actually sit down and do it pretty late. So I never want to do that again because then I was too tired to do anything the next day. So lesson learned. Also attention to detail. You need to be able to catch your mistakes. And lastly, patience. I know whenever I was working on these last two feature stories, I kind of just wanted to get it over with. So I was like, all right, we're done. Like, I want to move on from this. Let it be done. And then, especially with the tea ceremony, Mr. Martinez was like, you need to add more here. And I was like, I know, I could have done more. Thank you for telling me. So yeah, patience. So what this program means to me, a lot. My inner child was healed a little bit, and I feel more prepared for the adult world. And also, I brought my phone camera, and my photos came back yesterday. I put together a PowerPoint. It's 100 slides, so I don't blame you if you don't scroll or click through them all. But if you would like to check them out after everyone else is gone, I have them on my computer. Thank you very much.
Reese, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself, and we'll get to the documentary and stories.
Hi, I'm Reese. I am a junior, and I'm majoring in mass communication and minoring in media studies. And this is my mini documentary. It's about culture shock, and also first culture shock. I interviewed my brother because I really wanted to get that perspective of like reverse culture shock, because I knew when being in Japan it was so different that I wanted to get that reverse culture shock when you go home.
The one thing that I thought might cause me culture shock going to Japan was how silent it was. Because everywhere that I looked, always talked about how silent everything was. Even just walking on the street, how much more silent it was than here in the States. I didn't really have any like great expectations when traveling to Japan. I went in pretty much like open-minded, not really expecting much from it, which so far it's been amazing. I definitely did experience culture shock, even just like in the small things, like you walk on the left side instead of the right side. And it took me a few days to get used to that. And then another thing was we've gone to an udon shop while we've been here, and it's okay there and like expected and a good sign for you to like slurp your noodles, which was something that usually in the States is kind of considered rude to do at a restaurant. I think things that could initiate like a reverse culture shock for me going back home would be just going back and talking to other people who like the language they speak natively is English, and like the whole conversation being in English and no part of it being in Japanese at all, like not even like saying thank you in Japanese or anything like that, and just how loud everything is going to be. It's going to be a lot.
Being back from Japan has been a kind of almost difficult experience because there's so many things that I have to get used to doing, or even stuff like just redoing my sleep cycle so that I'm on the correct one. But then there's also like the comfort of I'm back home and like this, I know all the stuff here and that kind of thing. I miss the food. a lot. The food was my main reason for wanting to go to Japan. Was I knew the food was going to be amazing, and coming back, it's like, oh, the food they have like similar food here, but it's not as good as it was there. So far, the biggest experiences I've had with it is in the LA airport, which I had a connecting flight from Tokyo to LA, then from LA to Boston. In the LA airport, the bathrooms, how dirty they were. There were no bathrooms in Japan that I went to at all. They were that dirty. And then also like on the plane, in the airport, even just like when I go out and do like normal stuff, it's all like so much louder. Like people in Japan, it felt like even on the streets were just quieter, and here everyone's just louder.
I think I kind of died a little when he mentioned the bathroom because that's the first thing everyone texted about. And then I realized I had a flight to LAX. And then he went to the bathroom and he came back and he was like, Reese, that was like one of the worst experiences of my entire life. Alrighty, so I had the first night daily blog post in Japan. It wasn't my first night. I actually showed up a little early, so it was kind of fun to see everyone else's like experiences and everything of being there. But I went out with Bray and Maurice and we got chicken skewers, and let me tell you, it's something else having to order for the first time in Japan. But we all went out on our little groups. We all tried different things. And we all just kind of like chilled out that night. My other blog post was about Peepo. So in Japan, they have police mascots for each station. And I first ran into him while I was walking out and about, and I saw this little plushie in a window that looked really weird. And I was like, what the heck? It had a little description, and then I kept seeing this little orange guy everywhere. And so I just like started doing research, and I found on this hole, and I talked to Monica about it, who you've seen in many presentations today. And I talked about how his name's Peepo because it sounds like a police siren, like Peepo, Peepo kind of thing. And he actually has a video game on the police website. It's kind of fun, played it a little. And then for my other Tokyo feature story, I talked about the East Gardens of the Imperial Palace. It's really big, and they have this really good area in it that was like my favorite thing ever. And it's seasonal, and I got to see the irises in Japan, which only bloom in like early to mid-June, so that was really cool. And then in Kyoto, I wrote about Kiyomizu-dera. That temple was just so pretty. It's like on a hill. There's many experiences there. They have a shrine and a temple. It's one of those areas. And you can actually see the city from one of the. And then my other one was actually about McDonald's. Let me just tell you, if you go to Japan, you have to try McDonald's. It sounds really weird, but it is so different. I actually added a little list at the end of like everything on the menu that's different, like that they have that we don't have in the US. And I didn't realize it was that much until I actually started writing it. And yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Okay, next we've got Bray. Come up. Introduce yourself and we'll get you a documentary.
Well, first of all, it's good to see all of y'all again. Miss y'all. Even though I'm in Houston, y'all are still here and y'all got to hang out. But so my documentary is on the Daibutsu statue in Tokyo. And I had a really personal connection with this one because how me and my mom got into Buddhism, and during the COVID year where we had an epiphany together where we wanted to find inner peace with ourselves and got over the differences I had growing up.
If you were to ask me, what was your favorite place to visit in Japan? This is what I would say.
Today I'm here with Jennifer, and Jennifer, can you tell us a lot of something about yourself?
Sure. So I am a program coordinator and manager for study abroad programs. I've been doing this for about 10 years. We run some annual programs in Tokyo and Kyoto and usually focus on cultural courses, business courses, martial arts based courses. And now we run some faculty led programs like your program. Yeah, that's
So I understand when you work with Asian Institute, you have a connection with the temple. And can you tell me like some personal connections with you that you feel for being here?
well, sure. Actually, my academic background is a little strange. Originally, I got a bachelor's in literature, which is odd, in Greece, and then moved on to international business and then to Asian studies. And when I went into Asian studies for the master, I focused on the history of Buddhist martial symbolism, because my background is I was an MMA fighter for a long time, and so I'm really interested in the philosophy and connection between politics and religion, and then the martial application and how that developed. And Japan was a place where it became very refined and influential for the rest of the world. And we can see that today in the States in terms of like how anime influences people. And so for this particular Buddhist temple, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a personal connection for me, but I would say I'm very interested in the figures at the door. Okay. The figures at the door are one type of or one category of creature called Vajrapani. Vajrapani means like Vajra in hand. And so those figures derive from ancient, early Buddhist symbols of guardian figures of the Buddha Shakyamuni. And the Vajra itself is the symbol of the connection between the king and the warrior class and the symbiotic relationship that the two had. And so over the years, as it was transported through China, through Baekje or Korea, through Japan, it maintained that symbolism and was used through different kinds of ceremonies and symbolism and introductions of the literature also. The literature was actually modified in different places to make the relationship between the kings in the areas where it was introduced and the protective warrior caste and the monk classes also more solid and more dependent also. So it was like a two-way street. And always when there's that two-way street, it's going to influence the martial aspect as well. So we still see the Vajra here in the Angyo figures at the door. We see it in the figure of Fudo, who is another major Buddhist figure. I don't think we've seen him in any temple so far, but you would probably recognize him. He's the crazy monster with one thing up, one thing down, one long lock. A lot of the kind of gangsters like to get his tattoo. Yeah, so these figures are interesting to me. They were the subject for my research, and I think that's where I connect with these, is where those figures still have modern relevance in martial circles, and then it's extended a little bit because it was also used in Fudo in particular, was also used in like World War II as a way to kind of bolster the military. They had specific groups that were, Fudo worshiping military groups up at Mount Koya. And then it's translated more recently into like fighters and like traditional martial arts practitioners, even MMA practitioners, even some of the yakuza like have taken this and still follow this figure because of the principles that it represents.
Well, that was too long. So for my Tokyo feature stories, I talked about the safety center we visited Tokyo, which was a really fun experience for me. I don't know some people didn't find it the same way as I felt about it, but I really was had fun on the earthquake. Where life when I fell out of things, so I knew for a fact I could never survive an earthquake. And the Yarabashi store in Tokyo was another thing I found interesting because, you know, an 8-story retail store that has literally everything you could ever want, you know, from like home accessibility to electronics, toys. In each story, each time you go up an escalator, you're wondering what's going to be up there next. Kyoto, I kind of talked about the animals of Kyoto for my feature story, like seeing the insects. That was really and that poster right there actually freaked me out the most. When me and John, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. No, that's you did see a monkey. You know what? That's it. That's it. But and then our way to the Fushimi Inari to the temple, that was one of the biggest things too. Seeing all these vendors, foods. We tried legs on a stick. Pretty good, but not what I expected. But I was intrigued by all the vendors, food, pretty much the people there too.
All right, Zoe, why don't you come on up?
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe Simonovic. I'm a senior. I graduate in December, actually. And my major is advertising. My interview is also with Jen. So you get to see a lot of Jen today. She was really great. She had a lot of really good information. So mine's about the cultural differences because she's been a lot of places. So it's kind of how Japan is different than all the other countries.
So how many countries have I been to? I'm gonna just list them off and try and count as I go. Cambodia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, Japan, Turkey, Greece, Israel, Ireland, Scotland. I lost count over here. Japan is definitely top 3. It's hard to choose, you know. Like physical behaviors, like the way people read you is different country to country. Like in the States, we tend to look at this is like something I didn't figure this out. This is something that's been written about in studies too, but it seems very true. We tend to read people's mouths. Like we look at how we're holding themselves to kind of determine their emotions, but here it's strictly eyes. You know, so you'll get a lot out of eye contact and you'll read a lot out of this and it's a different way of interacting when you first, you know, introduce or meet new people and these kind of things. It's cheesy answer, but it's kind of the go-to also. It's, you know, the food. Okay, you get delicious food at 7-Eleven. It's cheap, it's amazing. These kind of things. The safe is a big thing. You can walk and I'm not suggesting you do this, but you can walk anywhere in the city at night, basically by yourself, and you'll be fine. Don't do that again, but.
Yep, she was a really cool guide. So I had my blog post about our first day in Kyoto, where we went to Kiyomizu-dera Temple, Yasaka Shrine, and then we went to the Geisha district of Gion. It was really fun and fascinating. Read about it. There's a lot to read. I don't remember that much. I remember more about my feature stories. So my first one was about the cultural etiquette. It's very different. Everyone's super respectful, which was really nice. They loved us. Everyone we met was really nice to us, so it was really nice. And that just kind of talks about like the things that you do there versus what we would do here. There's a lot of hospitality there, and they're very nice people. My next one was about nature and how Japan has preserved nature. Everywhere you go, you see a ton of green. They've preserved it from like hundreds of years. And so that was one of the temples we went to. And then there's like a whole garden. And I thought that was really cool. And then I read about Nijo Castle. That was one of my favorite things we did. Couldn't take any pictures in there, but there was just a lot of artwork in there and you could read about it, and it said a lot about like what it all meant, and it was really cool. And then I wrote about geishas. We didn't see a lot of them because they're very reclusive, but geisha culture is really cool. We went to the geisha like center where they all train and work, and so I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts about the trip. And that's all I've got.
Okay, Brianna's last of the students. Yeah. Say the last, right?
Okay, my name is Brianna Archer, as many of y'all know. I did my mini doc, actually the same topic and same interviewee as Maya did. So so the audio, I learned that the microphone didn't work, so there's like some birds in the background. I think they go like caw, so like ignore it, like the weird like background. So yeah, this is the Kyoto Imperial Palace.
I lived in Kyoto for 21 years. So when I first came to Kyoto, like you, I was a student, and we did a lot of intensive touring of important sites. But Kyoto Imperial Palace was a little bit difficult. I've rarely been inside because it was mostly closed to the public, and you needed to apply for a ticket to get in. It was very complicated. And I think it was mostly related to security reasons, because they in the past, maybe in the 70s or 80s, there was often like anti-imperial kind of terrorist actions and stuff. Believed in the ancient text, in the ancient belief system, that the Japanese people came from I may make a mistake on this, but the like a sun god, and the emperor is an important figure in the Japanese cosmology and some say mythology, but to say mythology is a little bit controversial, because up until World War II, the emperor was considered a god in human body. And so there is a very important mystical connection for traditional Japanese and the imperial family. And so Kyoto, when Kyoto became the capital in 794, they were trying to empower the imperial family as a way to reconsolidate their power after having Nara be the capital, which was very heavily influenced by the Buddhist temples. And so the imperial household agency is the people that control it, and they're the imperial family's corporation or whatever, that agency. And they are also based in Tokyo. But they have a lot of information available about this important cultural treasure. And they have very detailed information on their website.
So that was my documentary. It's gonna wait. Okay, so I had the daily blog post for when we went to Time Out Tokyo and the bullet train, and I was really excited for the bullet train because I had high expectations like the movie, but it was actually nothing like the movie. So Joey King was there, fortunately. So that was that. And then for my featured stories in Tokyo, my parents can like test to this, but two things about me is I'm a picky eater and I love to shop. So I had to write about being a picky eater, and then my other one was shopping. So I was really scared going into this trip because I was like, what am I going to eat? I'm terrified of like things that like swim, and like I don't want to eat them. And so I'm just going to like rely on McDonald's. But actually I did try a lot of stuff. So I'm like really proud of myself for that. So I wrote about that in one of my featured stories. And then the second one was about Harajuku. And I was obsessed with it. I think whenever Gabby, Zoe, and I went, that was like my favorite thing that I did all trip. So that was a lot of fun. I wish we would have had more time to like go down even further and see like the high-end stores, but like I couldn't afford it. And so like that's probably for the better. And then for my Kyoto ones, I talked about, oh yeah, the Imperial Palace. I thought I wrote about the castle. I guess I didn't. And then I talked about the convenience stores, which were genuinely the coolest thing to me because here in the US, like if you eat like gas station sushi, you get like sick. But like here, like it's good and everything there was super good. All the drinks were my favorite things ever. I've already like filled my Amazon cart with like the drinks so I can try them again and make them. So yeah, I don't know what else to add other than that my Japan experience.
Wow, let's hear it for these student creators. What an amazing amount of work they did. So beyond any expectations I had, you guys blew me away with all of that. I'm so very, very proud of you and so glad you had a chance to share this with relatives, family members, friends, and those on Zoom as well. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing our next presenter, and that is Jamie Gonzalez, our graduate student. So I need to explain this just a little bit. We've heard from all of the undergraduate students, and I didn't realize how lucky I was when I received an email maybe in March. I'm a graduate student. I'm interested in going to Japan. Is it possible? And I wrote back and said, well, I don't know. It might be possible, but if you want to go, I'll do everything I can to make it happen. And John Zmikly and I are so grateful that she came along because she had two roles. She was a graduate student. She was earning graduate credit like the undergrads were earning undergraduate credit. But she also took on the additional role as a graduate instructional assistant. So we brought her on the leadership team to help us manage all of these crazy, crazy people. We needed all the help we could get. And Jamie was such a great support. She helped us not only with going from place to place. Hey, do we have everybody? Do we lose anybody? I'm so glad we didn't lose anybody. But also the tremendous work she did in providing support for the undergraduate students with their blog posts, with their feature stories, providing feedback, also serving as a model, as a professional, so that students can see issues about time management, about being a professional, about navigating a different place. They look to Jamie for guidance in that regard. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that she did. And so now she's going to share some of her work that's a little bit different from the undergrads. But here's Jamie Gonzalez.
Hey guys. Okay, so I've had a cold for the last week and my voice is still kind of raspy, so bear with me. So back in March, I took a meeting with Dr. Judy Oscom. She's like the head of the School of Mass. And after the meeting was over, she sent a follow-up email. She was like, "Thanks for meeting with me. Glad to have gotten to know you. Also, have you ever considered studying abroad?" And I was like, "No, I've not." But I went home and I was like, maybe. So with literally, I think 3 days left to apply to this program, Dr. Martinez and John Zmikly scrambled together not only 2 graduate courses for this class, but also a graduate instructional assistantship. And a couple months later, I was packing my bags. So I fed 3 things in Japan: my soul, my passions, and my body. I was particularly moved by the Buddhist temples that we went to. I am not a particularly religious person, but something about these temples was just so beautiful, and it really resonated with me. And in particular, the Great Buddha, I was moved to tears as I lit my incense and gave my offering. I am a kind of self-proclaimed crazy plant lady, but seeing all of the beautiful hydrangeas, all the beautiful flowers that were in Japan, I think I have pictures of mostly flowers, much like Maurice. So seeing all of those really, really fed my soul. Every single time I saw one, it sparked some joy. And then the Jizo statues, which was a little bit of a bittersweet thing for me. As women in a state where maybe reproductive health care is a little tenuous sometimes, I felt really sad because the story behind them is that they are to guard the souls of stillborn and miscarried children because the Japanese their souls are dead. But the Jizo exists like extremely just to prevent that, and that made me really. So it was a very bittersweet. I fed several of my passions. There were so many things that were just right up my alley in Japan. One was the greenhouse in the Shinjuku National Garden. Again, crazy plant lady. I would have spent the entire day or maybe the entire trip in this greenhouse. It was so great. And I particularly love the little pineapples that I saw growing. I've actually been personally trying to grow a pineapple for the last year, and it is getting much bigger, but no fruit. The Watsuyama Monkey Park, I'm so grateful to Ollie and Felicity for joining me in this trip because it was the only like must do on my list. I made the decision to go to Japan. And even though I was silently or very loudly cursing John for sending me up the mountain with a tripod strapped to my back, it was absolutely worth it. And then the baseball game, I grew up in a sports household. Any kind of game, it's on. And it was a really great touchstone to my family back home. And obviously, I can't talk about Japan without talking about the food. So I actually just tried sushi for the first time about a year and a half. I'd never had it my whole life. Was really scared of it and loving it. So it was definitely something I was looking forward to on this trip, and it did not disappoint. The noodles, the spicy soba noodles you see here were an easy win. And then just a little fun story. Before we left, I have a cousin who taught me a couple of key phrases in Japanese. Hello, goodbye, good morning. But he threw in 2 kind of random ones, and I ended up using both. One was monster, which is bokumono, and the other one was idiot, which is baka. And so I was really tickled that these pineapple drinks on the menu were listed as baka sized, as in it's stupid how big they are. And they were stupid good too. So that's just a little bit of the food that, oh, also that Wagyu steak, I would go back to Japan just for that steak. Thank you and good day. This was also a new career adventure for me. My mom has been a teacher for like 30 years, I did not inherit that gene. And to the relief of students everywhere, I've stayed far away from the classroom setting. I manage employees at work, so I do manage people, but they come like trained and ready to go, like adopting a cat. They're good. I have a sister and a brother. They are 24 and 19. I love them. Imagining 13 of them was kind of like imagining having 13 puppies, which is fun in theory, but like more fun if somebody else is doing it. I took the leap and I did it anyway, and I'm really glad. Something that I struggle. So you guys thought you were struggling, right? I also thought I was struggling. Most of the time I was like, I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. I don't think I'm doing the right thing here. I wasn't always sure if I was telling you guys what Gilbert and John wanted me to tell you. And I think a couple of you can attest that I would go to them and ask for clarification and you guys and be like, actually scratch what I said earlier, do this other thing instead. Which kind of reminded me that the most important key to any job is just open lines of communication. So I think I did an okay job of keeping that communication open, not only between you guys and me, but between me and John and Gilbert and between so hopefully I did an okay job there. And I think Layla and Aspen will attest the first couple of nights were challenging. And the next mornings after that. I think there were a couple of 2 a.m. nights, definitely several after midnight. So I know how to figure out some kind of a plan to kind of get us on track so that we could go to bed. So I came up with the Jamie Ready deadline, the 9 p.m. deadline, which meant that the blog needed to be ready, written, uploaded with photos in WordPress by 9 p.m. And it also meant that the person writing the blog that day had to stay in and write and watch everybody else go out and have dinner and explore. And the person writing had to stay in the hotel lobby with 7-Eleven ramen. And it really broke my heart. And I really wanted to be like, it's okay, it's fine, just go. But I did my best to help you guys out along the way, giving you kind of rough guidelines. Here's what we're looking for. What about this? What made you, what stood out to you today? And I tried to, help you guys practice some self-care by reminding you guys to eat, looking at you, Aspen, who forgot to eat dinner one night, and I had to chastise you. And after that, I told everybody, please, for the love of God, eat dinner. And I also tried to relate the things that you guys were doing to your respective majors and your eventual careers. And I tried to tell you, help you guys see, okay, this is how it's going to be when you're an advertiser or when you're, project manager or whatever the case may be. And I think one day when you're, well into your careers, you'll be on a super quick turnaround deadline. And I think you'll think of me, probably not fondly, but you'll think of me. And I think we finally got our routine down. Another kind of little hiccup I dealt with was unlocking everybody's writing. Obviously, I know that everybody has their own writing process. I'm a manager of writers, but I've never been so up close and personal with so many processes at once. And I think a few of you were even trying to figure out what your writing process is. I think there were some of you that were like, I've never had to do anything like this before, like writing on this deadline, writing a feature story like this, or writing a blog like this. It was all brand new. And so I tried to make sure to start conversations to get you guys where you needed to be. I think we spent a lot of quality time each night, and I tried to make sure that you understood not only that, maybe this needs to be changed, but why are we changing it? And what are the grammar rules behind this? And, what can make this good piece of writing a great piece of writing? So I tried to make sure to do that along too. And I promise not to ask anybody to tell me what a parallel sentence is. So yeah, I might not have gotten all of my mom's teaching genes, but now I can see how she does it and why she does it. I've always had a lot of respect for educators, and that has grown exponentially. And this trip really helped me find a professional aspect of myself that I didn't think existed. And it gave me some newfound abilities to navigate a foreign country, take a chance, and just reminded me that taking a new challenge is always a good thing. Okay, so I do have one more thing that I want to show you guys, and I think everybody will be, I think everybody will enjoy it.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
I stubbed my toe and then had to get an ambulance to take me to the hospital. And then they fixed it and they just released me.
Drop down the tree. Yeah.
And you're not feeling so beautiful because you've been sweating all the time. What do? You get out beauty time. It's going to quench your thirst and make you feel great and make you look great, most of all. Lemon squash, Zmikly approved.
You won't do it.
But this is how you would do it.
No, you should do it. This is.
You don't want me to fall down in there, do you?
No, we'll spot you. Look, he's going to.
I can't. My legs are tired. I'm doing good.
Yeah, can you
Like-
take on that?
Yeah.
I got a backpack on. I got jeans on.
Obviously, you'll do it tomorrow.
You know, I think you already did it, but everyone.
If you do Google Translate on these ingredients, you're seeing your meal. That's what it said. I think I screwed up. It's a conspiracy. It's not. I 100% saw it. The paper guide is not in there. We're good. We're free. Semen free. That is, this is the juice. This is
Really big skyscrapers handle earthquakes.
Play. Were you just the drum majors and did you not play anything?
No, wait. This is your video.
Mastermind, the mastermind.
Oh my.
Yeah. So we had a project Z going the entire trip where everybody was taking video
I thought it
for
was
me.
a documentary you were making.
No, it's a documentary of your life. The real John.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I am speechless. And just for y'all. We're trying to.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Thank you so much. I did not expect that at all. Wow. This whole time I thought you were doing a mockumentary, and I was like, I hope that they do. It's still happening. Okay, I hope they do a mockumentary. Thank you. No, y'all had a profound effect on my life as well. 4 years ago, we took this trip, and Gilbert is the mastermind. And the last slide, we couldn't be here without you. We couldn't be here without Gilbert. Actually, that's the reality. But 4 years ago, we took our first trip, and I was a program assistant, so I was kind of more of like a chaperone almost. And then Gilbert taught 2 classes. This time, he taught one, and I taught one. The class that Gilbert taught was feature writing, and then mine was mobile storytelling in the outdoors. So we focus a lot, most of the time, on Instagram, posting slideshows, and then adding reels as well. So a lot of the day-to-day stuff was students taking photos and kind of working with students to kind of bring their videography, framing, composition to the next level. And so there were some laughs in there as well, for sure, but to kind of just teach you students like just kind of a little bit more, in your repertoire of mobile storytelling. And that was kind of my focus of the class. And so it was really great to spend time with y'all, get to know you outside of the walls of Old Main. I actually only knew one of you students. It was Sophia, took my class, but I didn't know anybody else. Oh, well, FDOM doesn't count because it's so big. I don't get to meet everybody in that class. So it was a huge blessing for me to hang out with y'all and to teach you and to kind of walk through this with you. And I hope y'all learned something as well. And it was just an amazing trip. And like Gilbert said, 4 years ago, we didn't think we could top the first trip, but with y'all, we did it. I guess nothing takes the place of the first one, but in terms of, there were no issues. Everyone was in great moods, and it was just a great team. I just saw that like the team melding like right away, and everybody got to work with each other, and it was really great. So I love seeing the passion rise from you students, and doing voiceovers, and there was a lot of work being done. There's a lot of fun, but there was a lot of work being done, and I hope that you learn those skills on the fly. As we kind of went through it, and learn from mistakes and learn through doing the thing right. And there's just a lot going on. So thank you all so much. And like I said before, we could not do this without our fearless leader, Gilbert. So I wanted to present you with a little gift from us, Gilbert. Thank you, Ryan. And I'll do the honors of opening it for you little by little, because there's pieces to it. The first part of this, as I unwrap it, is a course. We got a nice group picture. There's actually 4 of them in there, so you can pick the one that you want and the orientation that you want. We also signed this wonderful cloth. Actually, Jen donated it for us, but we signed it. I know you were not able to sign it, so before you leave today, make sure you sign it. It's a signed banner. Yep, beautiful. And Rand has helped in this because while we were in Japan, Gilbert's one mission was to buy a watch. It was his #1 goal, buy a very specific type of watch. Everybody knows that. The joke was, what time is it, Gilbert? Because he found the perfect watch. It looks awesome, and it's got kanji script for the day, the day of the week. It looks really cool. And so that was always the joke. What time is it? Well, Gilbert knows the time. He'd be happy to tell you. And so then while he was still in Japan, he bought another watch. He had another watch. So I thought it'd be a great gift to get you a watch box. And Rayanne has been telling me that you've been looking at them online. I'm like, do whatever you can to keep him from buying one. So we got you an engraved, beautiful glass and watch for all of your watch needs. So yeah, very happy to. So no, Gilbert has been instrumental, obviously, in leading this trip, from the planning stages to the working with students every single night with the daily blog posts, and just the ups and the downs of the trip. So thank you so much for everything you've done, and I know every student here is so grateful, and so am I. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh dear. Oh gosh, thank you very much. I'm gonna cherish these. I feel like I'm speechless. Pardon me as I gather myself here just a second. What time is it? Oh, it's time to wrap up. It's time to wrap up. So let me just share a few things if you don't mind. This is a very, very special program. And I told my students from the very beginning, it's not a vacation. And they didn't like the reminders, I know. I didn't like the reminders, honestly. And the students talked about staying up until midnight, staying up until 1, staying up till 2. Guess who else was up that late? Jamie and I and John, right? Because we believe that this program has a lot of value and there are a lot of great experiences and great learning experiences. And this was not go do this and we're going to go have a good time. This was we're right there with you every step of the way to improve your work, to improve what your creations. And so I just want to share a few things as we wrap up here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. But this has really been about this work-life balance that my students have come to understand that's going to help prepare them, I hope, for their professional careers. I'm so proud of the student work. I'm so grateful for those that were able to join today on Zoom or in person. You got to see their hard work represented in what they did. We were a team every step of the way. We supported each other, we loved each other, and we had great fun together. And that's what the work-life balance is all about. You know, students did blog posts that you found out, feature stories, personal travel essays, Instagram posts, stories, and reels. They did mini documentaries, but we had fun too. It's not just all work. It's not just all fun. It's got to be that balance. And I hope that's something my students take out of this. We were eating and sightseeing and making friends. We did so many different things. 13 daily blog posts, 27 feature stories about Tokyo, 27 feature stories about Kyoto, 14 personal and professional essays, numerous daily posts, reels, and stories on Instagram. Those of you that followed know all the hard work that we did, and we did this together. It wasn't just one person, and yeah, sacrifices had to be made. We couldn't go out. You couldn't go out and do the things with everybody else. That was a sacrifice, but it wasn't like that every single night. I hope you were able to experience Japan in the way that you wanted to. And I hope that by all of this creation, you've created a lifetime of memories. I will always remember this group. I will always remember this trip. And I just don't compare it with the 2019 class. That's a different class. We had a different experience. But boy, this experience in 2023 was pretty darn good. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. So proud, so proud. So we had fun, right? This is I was talking about the eating and the sightseeing, the making friends. We met Japanese students from 2 different Japanese universities. That was a real treat. What did we learn though? How to write daily blog posts on deadline. Yeah, learning hurts. Growth hurts. But you learned valuable skills here. You learned how to write interesting feature stories. You pitched story ideas to me. I helped you develop those. And as Sophia mentioned, sometimes I said, yeah, you're almost there, but I want more. I always wanted more. Give me more, give me more. Right? You learned how to incorporate multimedia and social media into all the work that we did. This is the kind of stuff that this program is about. This is not just about, hey, this is a free trip to Japan and we'll just do whatever we want. It was that work-life balance that we learned about together. We learned how to navigate public transportation in a foreign country. I think among my students, one is a Japanese language learner. The rest were, it was a free-for-all. Like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? But it is possible. It is possible. And the Japanese people are amazingly patient and amazingly hospitable. And they recognized us as being foreigners, and they were there to help us. They wanted us to have a good time in Japan. That's what the Japanese students told us. Have a good time. We hope you have a good time in Japan. They're proud of their country, rightly so. What did we experience? We forged lifelong friendships, not only with each other, but also with students in Japan. We made these connections, as I mentioned. We've had authentic interactions with Japanese people and culture, with the things you were interested in, with the things you didn't even know anything about before we left, and you discovered something new, not only about Japan, but about yourself. That's what this is all about. I hope that you gain deeper understandings of yourself. I think you have. I've read your personal travel essays. I'll be publishing those soon. For those that are on Zoom and family that's here, I'll be publishing those so you can see the kind of insights that my students have experienced in this trip. But what do we feel, right? Every student is different, but many had deeply personal and spiritual experiences. We also had a lot of fun, laughing with each other, sometimes laughing at each other. And that's okay. That's okay, because this group really, really bonded. You know, we had 2 orientation meetings in the spring where we tried to develop ways for the students to bond. And it's just like they were strangers. They don't know why they're here. Isn't it time to go yet? Let me check my watch. It's not time to go yet. But once we got on that plane and you realize, oh, okay, they're strangers on the plane, but these are less, these folks are less strange to me. I know something about them. And that's when the bonding happened. And then it was real. It really got real once we were in Japan, once we walked through the airport, once we walked through the city streets of Tokyo and Kyoto. Students bonded, they supported, they brought out the best in each other. And that was something I loved watching more than anything else. Watching you work hard, watching you struggle, watching you overcome those struggles. This is not about focusing on what went wrong. It's about focusing on how you endured and how you got better. And I hope you've created work that you're proud of, that you could look back on, because that, again, is another key component of this. For many, this is your first international experience, but I hope it's not the only one you have in your life. And I hope it's not the last one you have in your life. I hope this opens up a world of travel, a world of interaction, a world of exploration. And when you have a second, I hope you let me and John know if you go somewhere, what was it like? Tell us. We'd love to hear about it. I'd love to keep in touch with my students. Now, why did we do this? Yeah, I sometimes wonder, this is a lot of work. This is not easy, but I love doing this, right? All the aforementioned is why we did this, but also we improved writing and social media skills. We have these strong additions to student portfolios. You heard from the 2019 class, they used the website and the stories and the mini documentaries, the videos, the photo slides that they created, that helped them get jobs. They're doing great things in the world. And I foresee the same for each and every one of you. Use this to help you get those interviews, to help you showcase your work, because that, again, is what this has been about for us. And so I hope this experience informs your potential career path. Maybe you know for sure that you don't want to work under such tight deadlines. That's something. You've learned something. But maybe you'll find that there are things that you can do. Your content creation is through the roof. The writing, the social media, the video skills, multimedia skills, really, really quite impressive. And you know, John and I are very proud of the program that we've created. We've tried to do it in a way that makes sense for students, but you have fulfilled all of our expectations and have surpassed them in what you have actually created. We're so proud because when we show off your work, we're showing off what this program can be, not only what it has been for you and for the 2019 class, but for future classes as well. So, you know, here's some group photos I just want to share very quickly. At the baseball game at Zozo Marine Stadium in Chiba, Japan. This is a group with Japanese students who joined us. So much fun. This is at the Wall Street Journal, the Tokyo Bureau of the Wall Street Journal. This is a night with volleyball students from Toshi's class. We had dinner at a very cool restaurant. This is at Time Out Tokyo. So, you know, this just shows you kind of the things that we did, the things that we experienced. This is at the Kyoto Shimbun, right? So these are just examples of when we took time to take photos, to commemorate our trip, you know, point by point, as we remember what this experience has been for each and every one of us. And so I think this is so I didn't know, but thank you. This photo is a beautiful, beautiful photo that's going to go on my wall and help me remember every time I walk into my office here in Old Main, and every time I get ready to teach my other classes, I will look up at these photos and remember this great experience that we all had together. Now, one of the things I do want to do here is to express this special thanks not only to my faculty partner, John Zmikly. I could not ask for a better faculty partner. He's just so in sync with what I'm trying to accomplish. And he's always so great at giving me feedback, helping me make an adjustment, helping me say, hey, maybe we should try this different way to do something. And that's so, so important to have. And I've so enjoyed traveling with him. And I look forward to doing this as often as he wants to come with me. I'll take him to Japan each and every year. I'm so grateful for his help. He's been a great, great partner for me in this program. I also want to give special thanks to our graduate student, our graduate instructional assistant, Jamie Gonzalez. I just like all of you, she maybe didn't know what she was in store for. I'm so glad that she stuck it out. I'm so glad that she gave her very best, which is what all of you deserved and which all of us needed. And she made us better. She made your work better. She made our website better. She made the program better. And for that, I have nothing but sincere gratitude to Jamie. So thank you so much, Jamie, for all your hard work, and everybody for all your work. It's been a great experience. The last thing I'll share here, I share this with my students. The Daruma doll is considered sort of a talisman of good luck. And if you have, for my students, I gave each of them one of these at the beginning of our first meeting. And so the Daruma doll is, you know what, I'm just gonna stand up close to the screen here so that those at home can see this. And so what you do is you paint in one eye at the beginning of an endeavor or a wish or an experience. And then what you do is when you accomplish your goal or when you get your wish or when you have the end of your experience, you paint in the second eye. And so that's what we come to now, where once the goal is set, once it's achieved, the eye is then painted in, and that sort of signifies the end of our program. And, I don't want it to end, I don't want to say goodbye. And so we're not saying goodbye. I want my students to know that I hope you keep in touch. Those that are around here in Old Main in the fall or the spring, you come by and see us. If you need letters of recommendation, we've got your back. We've got you. Come see us. And same from Jamie as well. All right. That's the bond that we have. That's the experience that we had with you. And that's the great love and care that we have for each and every one of you. And so the last thing that I want to end with is one of Jamie Gonzalez's projects, which was to put together in addition to the Project Z project, was to put together a video that is a promotional video for the next year's class and for the future. So the first thing I'll say to the current students, I hope you serve as ambassadors for our program. Tell everybody you know at Texas State what this program has meant for you. That'll help us recruit for next year. We also created this video. I want to thank Jamie for putting this together as part of her work. And so I want to close by sharing this video. Let me make sure, let's see, it's unmuted. Okay, so I will play it now.
I had a lot of expectations about the culture here in Japan, and they were met all the way.
I actually just learned a lot about journalism, especially from the Wall Street Journal. It was just a really great way to be able to get into the journalism world and get a perspective for what it's really about.
We're so used to our culture, we get so caught up, and I just wanted to see how another country lives. I have a strong history with the Great Buddha, with my family, so visiting that temple made me feel like I have a stronger connection with the people I love.
My favorite outing in Tokyo had to be the Meiji Jingu Shrine. And might I just say it was so beautiful and just like breathtaking and life-changing, like all at once.
Visiting Kamakura because it was an island town right next to the ocean that had an amazing view.
Visiting these temples, having a deep connection with them, understanding their story.
I learned a lot of things. The biggest takeaways from this trip is all my content creating and writing and photography.
My favorite thing that we did in Kyoto was when we went to the Kiyuzumi-dera temple.
The Kiyomizudera Temple.
Going to Nijo Castle. I thought the history of it was really cool. I really liked all the food and all the varieties.
Fried octopus.
These rice dumplings inside of bean paste.
I really, really enjoyed the farewell dinner when we all like got to cook that meat. That was a lot of fun. I felt like a grill master.
The revolving sushi bar.
I think it was just all of the beautiful friendships we all built because I think it just made the experience that much better because going on vacation with your family is cool or your friends, but like going with a bunch of random strangers that you just happen to click with is like a really special thing. And I think like we all built lifelong friendships out of that. And I think that was really, really cool.
So thank you very much, everybody. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you, thank you. And let's get a group shot with the current class. Be the last time we'll all be together, maybe. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody online. Thank you for joining us.